Hawkeye is the latest Marvel Studios series to hit Disney+. It stars Jeremy Renner, Hailee Steinfeld and Vera Farmiga, and premieres on Wednesday the 24th of November 2021. Before we get into this, don't forget to hit that like button down below. It does wonders in getting my content out there, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to keep up to date with all my content. Marvel Studios' Hawkeye is an original new series set in post-blip New York City, where former Avenger Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, has a seemingly simple mission: get back to his family for Christmas. But when a threat from his past shows up, Hawkeye reluctantly teams up with Kate Bishop, a 22-year-old skilled archer and his biggest fan, to unravel a criminal conspiracy. I've never been the biggest supporter of a Hawkeye-centric project in the MCU. I like the character, don't get me wrong. I think Jeremy Renner's portrayal of Clint Barton, Hawkeye, has been great so far in the MCU. I think his character has offered up some pretty great things to the movies. But I've always thought that this is one of those characters that would never really lend himself very well to a solo project. It's a character that doesn't really seem to have much going for him. You know, he's a regular guy who shoots arrows, and that seems to be like his only thing that he really has to offer up to the Avengers team. So with all that said, Hawkeye is a series which I've been excited for because I'm always excited for a new Marvel project, but it's one that I've not really been looking forward to or, had the highest of hopes for. I think that sometimes the greatest way to go into a show like this is to kind of go in with tempered expectations so that when you enjoy it, you really enjoy it. And I'm happy to say that that is the case with this series right here. I'm pleasantly surprised by how much I really enjoyed this series. That said, I should preface this, as I always do with these kinds of reviews, by saying that Disney Plus has only provided me with the first 2 episodes of Hawkeye, so the premiere episodes of the series that will be landing on Disney Plus on launch day. I have not seen the rest of the series. There's another 4 episodes, I think, to go. So whatever I'm talking about in this video is entirely based on my experience with essentially the first third of this program. That said, I have really enjoyed what I've seen of this so far. There is so much going for this at the moment that I just cannot wait to see what is coming next. My initial thoughts on this is that this is probably the most cinematic Marvel Cinematic Universe show that's hit Disney Plus so far. I don't mean this in terms of like the visuals, the production value, etc., because all of these have been really top-notch. This is the first series in the MCU where I've sat and I've thought, this probably could work very well as a movie, and it feels like a movie. The first 2 episodes in particular, and I feel like the rest of the series is probably going to be like this, they go back to back. So episode 2 picks up exactly where episode 1 finishes off. We have seen this in previous Marvel series, but I don't think in this exact nature, where it's that exact moment. The second episode picks up after the first one's finished off. So it does feel like you're sitting to watch a movie. So I'm really excited to see if the show continues to kind of do this. What I really love about this, I've seen a lot of critics out there who have watched this, who have said, this is Kate Bishop's show. This is Hailee Steinfeld's show. She is the new Hawkeye. She completely, outdoes Jeremy Renner, Clint Barton in every scene that she's in. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think Kate Bishop is a really fantastic character. Hailee Steinfeld is fantastic. She is one of my favorite young actresses working at the moment. And I think her portrayal of Kate Bishop is terrific, spot on casting, really fantastic. And I'm really excited to see what the Marvel Cinematic Universe does with Kate Bishop going forward. Whether, she gets a really great story arc in this series, how they're going to meld her into the movies and all that stuff. I'm super excited to see what happens. But this show definitely does put a really fantastic spotlight on Clint Barton, of the kind that we never have had in the past. Now, I've been someone who's sat here and gone, I don't want a Clint Barton movie. I don't want to see him out on his own, the travails of Hawkeye, as a solo hero. I've always thought that just wouldn't be very interesting. But the great thing about this is that this really is a multi-layered character. And I feel like you don't really realize that, maybe you don't get to really appreciate that until he does get the spotlight that I will admit right now he has deserved all along. There have been so many great plot points with Clint Barton over the years that have never really been picked up on, that Marvel have never, I guess, really found the time to be able to invest in, to be able to expand his story. I mean, this is just a regular guy who has a family, he's got 3 kids, he's got a wife, and he's juggling just regular guy life with being an Avenger. When you think about it, when you actually give him the due diligence of actually going, okay, I'm gonna just give you a little moment of time, you do realize there is a wealth of storytelling to be done here. This regular guy that has been thrown into irregular circumstances. And this is the show that is finally going to be giving him that spotlight that he deserves. So this is really going to be touching on stuff that has been opened up as early as Avengers Age of Ultron, almost a decade ago. You know, we go back to his homestead, we meet his family, we touch on his human life just very briefly in that movie. We touch on it very briefly in Endgame. And we're finally going to unravel it. We're finally going to learn about the human, about the real guy behind this guy that's been thrust into this superhero team. The great thing about this is, as well, is this is coming directly off the back of Endgame, where there are a whole wealth of narrative directions that Clint Barton can be taken, a lot of great things that can be explored with him. This is a real damaged person. He has spent a good couple of years as Ronin, going through New York, just slaying the mafia and brutally killing people in cold blood as this cold-blooded superhero known as Ronin, this vigilante. And this show really picks up on threads with that too, and I'm really excited to see what they do with that, because particularly these first 2 episodes do have a spotlight on him and the emotional toll that having to have been this vigilante has taken on him. We also pick up pretty much directly after Natasha Romanoff has sacrificed herself in front of him. He wanted to sacrifice himself, but she was the one that threw herself off the cliff and he couldn't save her. So he's got this weighing on him as well. And the show really puts a great focus on this too. Again, I've only seen 2 episodes, but what I have seen so far, we're touching on all these little threads that have been left open in these movies, not just the most recent movies, but movies that came out, almost 10 years ago. We're finally getting to unravel this character that all along I've really thought, I don't really need to see this guy get the spotlight. And I think it really solidifies itself as a really worthy program in this roster. And again, this is only the kind of storytelling you can get in these Disney Plus series. Moving on from him, we go back to Kate Bishop. She is fantastic as well. And yes, the moments that she is on the screen, she does steal the spotlight. She is so fantastic. And I am, as I said, very excited to see where the MCU does take this character going forward. But I would love to see Clint Barton's Hawkeye continue. And I'd really love to see not necessarily just Kate Bishop going off on her own, but kind of the adventures of these 2 separate Hawkeyes and how Barton and Bishop could play on each other going into movies and series and whatever else. I'm very excited for the narrative possibilities, not only of this series, but the future of this franchise with these 2 characters. Story-wise, I'm really excited to see the directions this show is taking as well. It's quite dark. I feel like this is maybe the darkest, the grittiest series that the MCU has offered us so far. It's real ground-level MCU stuff, so if you think like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, street-level heroes, this is the kind of storytelling we're getting from Hawkeye. I feel like maybe it's the first time we've really had this in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's actually really quite refreshing to bring it down just a little bit and kind of get this street-level, ground-level storytelling that we haven't had. This is a story which is going to see Hawkeye going up against all kinds of different mafioso and street-level gangs. The first 2 episodes, we get the Tracksuit Mafia coming to play. They're kind of an antagonist group that is going to be going up against Hawkeye. I don't know how much into the series, but they're definitely in play here. We've got Vera Farmiga's character is really shaping up to be something really interesting as well. But of course, this is a Marvel Studios show, and this capitalizes on heart and humor, which is at the core of every really great MCU movie or series. And I think that this has such a great heart, and whether that is in the character of Clint Barton trying to find some sort of redemption for the things that he's done in the past, or whether that is with his relationship with Kate Bishop, where he kind of becomes this meant to taking on a mentor role to this protege, and I'm very excited to see where this goes. There's a lot of humor in here as well, so much humor, and it's great. It is classic, typical Marvel humor. It's not over the top stuff. I really like this series. The tone and the feel of it so far is really, really great, and I'm so pleasantly surprised by how much I have enjoyed this. Because again, over the years, I have said I've no interest in a Hawkeye show, and I'm so happy that Marvel Studios has proven me wrong, because this is, I'm not going to say this is my favorite Marvel Studios series so far. I feel like it's too early to really be making any kind of statements like that, but this has gotten off to a really great start, and I feel like I have been drawn into, I've been connected to this show probably better than I have in any other series other than WandaVision. So I'm very excited to see where this goes, and I'm really, really loving it so far, and I think a lot of people are going to love this as well. And at that, I'll happily be giving the first 2 episodes of Hawkeye a 4 out of 5. Hawkeye is possibly the most cinematic Marvel series so far. Returning to the simplicity of the franchise's first phase, the series is ground-level MCU at its very finest. As someone who never thought a Hawkeye-centric production would ever work, I'm pleasantly surprised at how great this show is shaping up to be. Once again, Hawkeye debuts on Disney Plus with a feature-length premiere of 2 episodes, debuting on Wednesday the 24th of November 2021. Thanks again to the incredible team over at Disney Plus for providing me with these very first 2 episodes for the purposes of this review. And thanks everybody out there for watching. I really hope you enjoy the show. I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy. Hey everyone, if you haven't yet, smash that big old subscribe button up on your screen to keep up to date with all my content, and hit that like button down below. Also, don't forget to check me out on social media, and please consider supporting me over on Patreon for as little as $1 a month for exclusive videos, early access content, and to get your name up on the screen. Thanks again for watching.